Australian Gunsmoke. This was a Western series based on the American shows. The Australian episodes were 30 minutes long. They were broadcast on Mondays, through the Macquarie Network at 7:00 p.m. in 1955.
Guns blaze and the action-packed drama of Gunsmoke. Around Dodge City and in the territory out west, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a state marshal and the smell of gun smoke.
Gunsmoke is a story of the violence that moved west with young America. It's also my story. Me, Matt Morgan, U.S. Marshal. I'm the first man they look for and last they want to meet. This story takes me to Crimson, a small town in my territory west of Dodge.
Well, that's the last of them, Dad. I just closed the cupboard. Now I can wheel you out into the cool of the veranda.
Don't you bother about me, dear. You pretty yourself up. Vern Kenton's coming over to see us again tonight, ain't he?
Yes, that's right.
Well, it's nigh on 7 o'clock, so he'll be here soon. You don't want him to see you looking like that now, do you?
Well, I like that, and for my own father, too. What's wrong with me, may I ask?
Nothing at all, dear. Even though you are my own daughter, I don't think I'm shooting wide of the mark when I say you're the fairest gal in all Kansas.
You're prejudiced.
No, not at all. But you'd look even better if you changed out of them men's trousers into something more ladylike.
If Vern Kenton doesn't like me in my working clothes, he needn't like me at all. Now, we're wasting time talking in here. You should be outside in the cool.
All right. I know when I'm not wanted. I'm a-going.
Hey, take your hands off those wheels. I'll push you out.
Why do you have to keep fussing over me, Laurel?
Because you're the only pa I got. And I want to keep you as long as I can.
Yeah, come another 3 or 4 years, you'll be so sick of looking after me, you'll regret all this care.
Dad.
I'm sorry, dear. I was only joking.
I know you were.
A little breeze. It's marvelous. It's going to be a beautiful night.
Yes. Yes, it is.
You know, Laurel, the days don't matter much, but these kind of nights make me wish I could climb out of this chair and walk through the trees and down by the river and see the moonlit fields and... There I go again, romancing.
Perhaps one day you'll be able to do that again, Dad.
No, gal, never. I'm here in this wheelchair till the day I die.
Oh, you never know. I've been reading and hearing that there are a lot of fine doctors in the West now. Maybe one day we'll have a good enough one out this way. Or in Dodge City, he'll be able to fix you up as good as new again.
Now, you listen here. Even though they're no good to me, I've still got my 2 legs. I'm not going to let some sawbones go a-hacking away at them, so maybe I'll end up losing them altogether.
Dad, that wouldn't happen.
No, well, I'm not going to take that risk. But I sure do hate this chair. I could skin that Tony Wayne alive for putting me in it, the drunken coyote.
Dad, he didn't mean it. And all that's over and done with. Now, can't you let bygones be bygones?
I'd like to run a team of horses over his legs, see how he feels deprived of everything he's lived for, tied to a chair for the rest of his life.
Dad, he didn't mean it. That team was frightened.
Yeah, by his shots, the drunken murdering coyote. I suppose I'm lucky I wasn't one of the ones that was killed. Should never have been released from prison. Should have been kept there for life. If there's one person in all this world I'd like to stand up against a fence and shoot down, it's Tony Wayne.
Dad, you're feeling sorry for yourself again.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, gal. I promised you I wouldn't, didn't I?
You did. So how about keeping it, huh? Tony wouldn't have deliberately hurt you. He was just a little liquored up and in the silly mood for shooting off his guns. It wouldn't even have entered his mind that the team of horses would take fright and bolt.
Well, maybe he didn't mean it, but you'd think he'd have learned his lesson while he was in prison.
He has that.
Well, he still gets drunk, don't he?
I don't know. I don't spend my time in the saloon.
Well, he does. Jess has told me. Seen him drunk a lot and in a mean, sour mood. Reckon the fella's mad.
Dad, you're starting again.
Yeah, so I am.
Well, getting back to your wanting to see the fields and the river at night. Tomorrow night, if it's fine and the moon's full like tonight, I'll get Jess to fix up a buckboard especially for you, and I'll take you for a ride.
Will you, gal?
Sure I will. So don't you get morbid, Just you look forward to tomorrow night.
You're grand, Laurel. Grander gal no man could wish for.
Oh, you only say that because you haven't seen many girls.
Oh, I've seen my share. I'll have you know I was quite a lad when I was young.
I bet you were.
Yeah.
Well, now you're settled out here, would you mind very much if I went for a short ride?
A ride? Hey, you've forgotten already Bern Kitten's coming to see you.
Oh, I'll be back to see Bern.
But you gotta change and pretty yourself
I'll
up.
be back in time to do that.
All right, gal, if you want to go for a ride, you go for a ride. I won't stop you. But why in the name of the devil you want to go when you got a special visitor coming's beyond me.
I guess I'm just a chip off the old block. I, too, like to be along the moonlit river in the fields.
Ah. Well, that being the case, on your way. Sooner you go, the sooner you'll be back.
Thanks, Dad. You're the best dad in the world.
Oh, there you are, Jess. Been waiting for you to show up.
I've been down in the stable, found the horse buckets. What's your trouble, Dad?
Hey, I'm right out of back of you. Can you spare me something?
Sure, I'll be right with you. There you are.
Thank you, son.
I saw Sis going down to the stables. She off on another one of her evening rides?
Yeah, for a few minutes.
Coming quite a thing.
Well, we can't say she doesn't deserve a little time to herself, Jess. She more than pulls her weight around this place.
Oh, I don't deny that.
You know, Jess, I'd do anything in the world to make that gal happy. Anything at all.
I feel so wonderful when I'm with you like this.
It's nothing to how I feel, honey.
Oh, I wish you could hold me like this forever.
If your old man wasn't so sour at me, maybe I could. When are you going to tell him about us, honey?
I'll tell him soon. Don't rush things, darling.
Rush things? Why, I've been waiting 3 months, all but a week for you to tell him.
Tony, Dad hasn't been well enough.
All right, honey, you know best. Anyhow, you're more than worth waiting for. Does your dad still hate me as much as he did when I came out of prison?
Dad doesn't hate people, darling.
He hated me, honey. Now be honest with me. Does he still?
Well, he still curses you sometimes. But only when his legs ache in the cold weather or he can't do something he especially wants to.
I still can't see him allowing you to marry me.
He'll allow it, darling. It may just take a little time.
I don't figure he'd allow you if I was the last man on earth. So what chance have I got when he's already picked you out for Bern Kenton?
Oh, Dad's only trying to foster that because Bern's the son of Dad's old friend. But he won't ask me to marry Bern when he finds out I don't love him. He'll let me marry the man I want.
Not when the man's me, he won't.
I tell you he will. Dad'd do anything for me. I can twist him right around my little finger. Oh, now stop worrying about it and kiss me again. We're wasting time talking, and I'll have to be getting back soon.
Honey, I love you more than anything in the whole world. How can a wonderful girl like you be interested in a hobo like me?
I guess I got no sense of value.
Say, you washed your hair today.
Uh-huh.
Smells better than the sweetest flower. Even better than the best brand of whiskey.
Tony.
I was only joking, honey. And you know what? With the moon shining down on it like it is, it's just like pure molten silver. And the daylight is just like pure gold.
And when it hasn't been washed, it's just like old rope. Go on, say it. Oh, Tony, I love you.
Well, this is a pretty sight, I must say.
Bern, what are you doing out here?
Kenton! What am I doing out of here when I should be at your place waiting for you? Well, I got tired of waiting for you every night when you've gone for your mysterious night ride, so tonight I decided to follow you. I had no idea you'd lead me to a romantic little place like this.
You gotta hide, Kenton.
You should talk. I got a gun, Wayne. I ought to shoot you down for luring my girl out here like this. Let her go.
Tony didn't have to lure me out here, Bern. I came of my own accord.
Well, it makes it worse. Yeah, I should have known you were too beautiful, too saintly. You're just one of a type. The same type as any man can find in any saloon or dancing hall.
Why, I should...
Yeah, that's just how I'd expect any dancing girl to act.
I'll kill you for saying a thing like that. Kill him!
Tony, let him up. Tony, you'll kill him.
Get up, Kenton, so I can knock you down again.
No, Tony.
Get up!
Hey, you'll be sorry for this, Laurel. Well, your father hears about it.
Oh, no, Bern. No, don't tell him, please.
Let you go on deceiving him like you've been deceiving me. Telling me you loved me when all the time you've been riding out here to a rendezvous with Wayne. Probably telling Wayne you love only him and then riding back to be with me.
Get on your horse and ride before I shoot you down,
Yeah,
Kenton.
straight back to your house, Laura. You may as well get this into your head, Wayne. Her father'll never let her marry you. Never in a million years.
Keep moving.
Anyway, her old man'll be doing you a good turn. You would never be able to trust her. Like I said, she's just a...
Tony, put away that gun. Tony, I'll have to get home and explain everything to Dad before he hears all of Bern's story.
Was he telling the truth when he said you'd be leaving me out here, riding home to love him?
Darling, of course not.
I couldn't stand it to think you'd ever two-time me, Laurel. I couldn't. If I can't have you all to myself, nobody's going to have you.
That exact time I was on the trail riding towards Quincy. In the distance, I'd heard 2 shots, and I figured it was probably only somebody out hunting jackrabbits. But then I heard... I lined up the direction of the sound, spurred my horse. About 2 minutes later, I came across it. Ma'am, what happened? Can you hear me, ma'am?
Tony, don't shoot again.
I'm not telling you I'm a friend, ma'am. Can you tell me what happened? This fellow Tony, did he shoot you?
Yes. Tell Dad. Yes.
Where will I find him?
Tell Dad. Yes.
No, old horse. Appears I have to look for a murderer called Tony. Bill's dead. And time a saddle roll, wrap a blanket around her. The words are still ringing in my ears. Tony shot me. Tell Dad and Jess. I'm wondering who they might be or where I'll find them when I hear a horse. Heading my way. I step back in the shadows, pulling the horse with me, and I realize the rider is heading for the scene of the crime.
Laurel! Laurel!
All right, fella, don't touch that blanket.
Hey, who are you? You the fellow who shot her, mister?
Don't
go
go for your gun. I'm covering you already. I take it you know this gal.
Sure, I know her. Why'd you kill her, you skulking murderer?
Go easy on your language. I didn't kill her.
And what were you doing hiding in the shadows there?
I'm Matt Morgan.
Yeah, and I'm Wyatt Earp.
I don't say. But I'm not fooling, fella. There's my badge. There's my papers to prove it. Not that you can read them in the dark. Now, what's your real name?
Tony Wayne. I'm sorry for being ornery with you, Marshal.
You say Tony?
That's right. Anything wrong with that?
It could be.
What?
How well do you know this gal?
Well enough to love her, and for her to love me?
When did you last see her?
Why, only a couple of minutes ago.
I just left her, and I was about a mile along the track when I heard the scream and the shot. Say, why aren't you going after the murderer instead of standing here talking? You must have happened along fast.
I did.
And you couldn't have missed the killer by more than a few seconds. He can't be far away.
Maybe I didn't miss him at all. Why'd you kill her?
Me kill her? You're joking.
Far from it.
For a marshal, you haven't got much brains. Do you think that if I'd killed her, I would have come back here?
Maybe if you'd left something behind, or if you'd heard me coming on the scene and wanted to give yourself a good alibi.
You're all wrong, Marshal. I love the girl. And I'm going to find the murdering coyote who shot her.
It's no use you trying that stuff with me, Wayne.
What?
All this pretending. When I got here, the girl was still alive.
She was?
Yeah, she told me who shot her.
Who'd she say it was?
She said it was you.
But she couldn't
She
have.
did.
And she didn't know what she was saying.
I'll admit she was delirious, but a person in her condition wouldn't tell a lie.
And you must have heard her wrong, Marshal. I didn't kill her. I swear I didn't. I wouldn't hurt her for anything in the
You
world.
may as well tell the truth, Wayne. You'll have trouble beating evidence like this.
What did she say?
When I jumped off my horse and walked up to her, she kept saying in a terrified voice, Tony, don't shoot again.
You're lying.
I told her I was a friend and asked her if the fella she thought she was talking to, Tony, had killed her, and she said yes. And she asked me to tell her dad and Jess. You know her dad?
Yeah, I know him.
Who's Jess?
Her brother. Now listen to me, Marshal. This has gone wrong somewhere.
My word, it's gone wrong for you. Now get up in your horse.
What are you going to do with me?
Gonna take you into town. The sheriff have you locked up to await trial. Maybe on the way, calling into her father to break the news to him.
I tell you, I'm innocent.
We'll let the judge figure that out. So, reluctantly and all the time swearing he's innocent, Tony Wayne leads me out of the valley and to the house owned by Laurel Jessup's father. Keep him a gun trained on Wayne. I tell him to dismount and knock on the door.
Yeah? Oh, it's you. Hey, Dad, it's Wayne.
You got a nerve setting foot near this place?
All right, that'll be enough fighting. I'm not here to watch that.
Where's Laurel?
Laurel.
Running away with you? Oh, no, she's not.
Okay, I said I don't want to see any more fighting. Now, both of you step apart and move down here off the porch.
Who do you think you are giving orders here, stranger? You're a pal of this fella?
I'm Matt Morgan, Marshal of Dodge, and I got a gun trained on you. You lead with one of your fists again, I'll blow it off. Now step down from that veranda.
Matt Morgan.
Yeah. I take it you're Jess?
That's right.
Where's your dad?
Where are you, Wayne, you cunning spalpeen? What's the meaning of luring my daughter out into the valley to meet up with you?
Just a minute, Mr. Jessup.
Who's that? Didn't see you down there.
Says he's Matt Morgan, Marshal of Dodge City, Dad.
Marshal Morgan. Now, who's he think's going to believe that? Probably a friend of Wayne.
I'm no friend of Wayne, Mr. Jessup. In fact, I just arrested him.
Arrested him? What for?
Well, I don't like being so blunt about it, but I may as well come to the point. For the murder of your daughter, Mr. Jessup. In the half-light, I see the faces of the three men drop. First, they don't believe me. Then when I tell them everything, the old man's eyes fill with tears, and he goes inside. The eyes of Jess and the other fella who's been introduced to me as Vern Kenton glow with hate. Before I know what's happening, they're both lashing into Tony Wayne.
All right, break it up. I ain't the prisoner of the law now, and it's such my duty to protect them.
Protect him? Why, the murder now. I said bring it up.
If he murdered my sister, I'm going to murder him.
Now maybe you'll take notice.
I want to kill him.
If he's found guilty, the law will do that.
He's guilty. You admit that yourself. You got Laurel's evidence. She wouldn't have been in no condition to lie, to say he killed her if he hadn't.
No.
Well, he's guilty, ain't he?
I guess so, but we'll have to let a court decide his fate. You've been quiet ever since we rode up to Jessup's ranch, Wayne.
Nothing wrong with that, is there, Marshal?
If you didn't kill the gal, who did?
Since you're interested enough to ask, I reckon it was Vern Kenton. But I ain't going to get any chance to prove it.
I can't see any sense in anybody trying to prove anything except your guilt, after what I heard from the dying gal. If you can give me enough reasons, maybe I'll investigate it further before your trial comes up. Now tell me, why do you reckon it was Vern Kenton?
Well, the main reason is he was the only other person who knew Laurel was out there where she was shot. It was our secret meeting place till he trailed her out there tonight.
Uh-huh.
And when he left us, he was hopping mad that Laurel had thrown him over. He was full of threats and all, trying to make her turn back to him. But I reckon that before he rode very far, he realized he'd never do that. So he rode back to maybe shoot us. I wasn't there because Laurel had told me she wanted to be alone so she could work out what she was going to say to her father. So he shot her. Maybe after they'd argued a mite.
Yeah, it could be.
And he was awful quiet back there at the ranch. I reckon he was scared you might ask him some questions.
Yeah, if it weren't for one thing, I suppose Kenton would be as big a suspect as you.
What's that?
If it weren't for the fact that the dying gal told me you shot her.
I can't understand that. I can't understand it at all.
It looks like cooking your goose. Unless I can find some definite proof against Kenton.
You mean you're going to try?
Yep. As soon as the sun comes up in the morning.
And you're starting to think maybe I'm not guilty.
I wouldn't say that. I'd say I figure I could maybe make a few investigations. Mr. Jessup, I hate to bother you with questions at a time like this. But I'd like to know what time Bern Kenton arrived here at your house last night.
With all that's going on, how do you expect me to know that?
Well, it's important that I know. Can you try and remember?
I can't remember nothing, Marshal. I can't even remember what day it is.
Would it have been 5 minutes before I turned up with Wayne?
Oh, no, he rode up a long time before you two.
Or would it have been a quarter hour, a half hour?
About half an hour, I'd say, but why do you want to know about Byrne, Marshal?
I got my reasons. Now, you'd say he rode up about half an hour before us. Huh?
Yeah.
Well, you know if he'd been riding hard, if his horse was sweating.
Well, I didn't even see his horse, Marshal. He come on inside to me.
Well, Jess?
I don't know. I'll ask him. Jess!
What do you want, Dad?
You come here. Marshal wants to ask you something.
What's your trouble, Marshal?
Did you see Kenton ride up here last night?
Now, let me think. No, I didn't. I was, down in the barns doing a spot of cleaning up.
You wouldn't know he'd ridden hard if his horse was sweating.
Well, like I say, I didn't see his horse. But the man himself was all right. I wouldn't say he'd ridden hard.
He couldn't have been anywhere near Laurel when she was shot. He arrived here too long before us and without riding hard.
Well, what are you trying to prove, Marshal? That Byrne Kenton murdered Laurel?
I was, but not now.
I'm sure glad. I was thinking maybe you'd gone off your head. You've already got Laurel's killer in the Crimson jail.
Before going back to the prison and telling Tony Wayne I'd given up investigation, I decided to ride down the valley and have a look at the scene of the crime in daylight. I'm sure glad I did. Otherwise, an innocent man would have been hanged. I'm back, Mr. Jessup. I'm kind of sorry to keep bothering you, but where can I find Jess?
Well, he's down there in the stable, Marshal, saddling his horse. He's going to town.
Oh, that's fine, mighty fine. I hope.
What do you mean by that?
I'll tell you in a minute. Can I come in, Jess?
Oh, Marshal. You scared me. Sure, come in.
Hey, it's a nice-looking horse.
Yeah.
Nice piece of leather to go on him, too. It's mighty fancy.
I bought it from a fellow who had it made in Kansas City.
Yeah, it's mighty fancy. Even the buckles, huh?
Yeah. One of them's come off, you see? That one there. Have to have an odd one put on. Don't know where I could have lost it.
Well, will this be it?
Oh, yeah, it sure is. Where'd you find it?
Down by the river where your sister was murdered.
What?
I also found imprints of what I'd say were your shoes that the horse he used. Anyway, we can check on them.
Marshal, you're out of your mind.
Took a long time before I got any sense out of him. But when he finally realized that he'd come to the end of the trail, he admitted it. He hated his sister. Hated the way his father loved her. Admitted that he killed her because he believed that one day his father would leave the ranch entirely to her. You know, like I told him, his big boots gave him away. His big working boots. Both Tony Wayne and Bern Kenton were wearing high-heeled riding boots on the night of the murder. About Laurel when she was dying, saying Tony killed her. Well, you see, turned out that Tony was Jess's Christian name, and Jess was only a shortened form of a surname, Jessup. That had kind of been accepted, and Tony was almost forgotten. I guess in her fear, Laura called him Tony, and not the more friendly name. Damn, I misunderstood her dying words. You see, instead of meaning tell Dad and Jess, she'd been trying to say something like, tell Dad Jess did it. Well, it's just the story goes to show just how careful and sure of ourselves we should be before we condemn anybody for anything.
Join us again next week when Matt Morgan fights to bring law and order out of the wild violence of the West in Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke is written by Russ Ryder and produced by Jim Bradley for our transom.
Guns blaze in the action-packed drama of Gunsmoke.
Around Dodge City and in the territory out west, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a state marshal and the smell of gun smoke.
Gunsmoke is a story of the violence moved west with young America. It's also my story. Me, Matt Morgan, U.S. Marshal. I'm the first man they look for and the last they want to meet. Right now, I'd say Dodge City's full of hombres hoping they won't have to look for nor meet the law. Not for a few days, anyway. After that, they'll all be gone. Back along the trails leading to the various spreads. So, I'm talking about the cattlemen, cowpunchers, and breeders in Dodge after the big roundups, the beef sales, with money enough to harass the whole town. Yes, sir. High-spirited bunch, not much harm in them, so as I do my night round the saloons and the joints, I'm not looking very hard. Not until I'm approaching the Plaza Saloon. Well, I'm a lot of yards away when I hear some piano player inside the place, playing one of those mournful ditties. I'm figuring that, well, perhaps I can skip the plaza when something changes, not only my mind, but also the piano players. Now, usually when you hear a piano switch tunes, it doesn't mean trouble, but when the switch is brought about by shots, it's the signal that some fella's getting them out too trigger-happy, not satisfied with helping to raid a town, but getting ready to lead others into treeing the town. So you make the trouble spot it to run, as I do.
Faster! I said faster with that piano. Come on, come on. You want me to make you with these? All right, everybody, just take it easy. Hey, what's the matter with you, huh? Get that piano of yours going?
Hold it, fella.
Huh?
Hold it. Let's see you holster your shooting irons nice and neat, huh?
You're talking to me, mister?
To you.
I don't like your talk.
Well, now that's too bad, I guess. How about holstering your gun?
Now, wait a minute. You telling me what to do?
Yeah?
That a badge on your waistcoat?
Don't you know Marshal Morgan?
Marshal Morgan. Oh, yeah, the great Marshal Morgan. Yeah, the gun-smoking lawman of this one-horse creek crossing they call Dodge City. All right, Marshal, all right, Mr. Marshal Morgan. Let's see you try telling a red-blooded Texan cowpuncher to holster his guns. Let's see you try it again, huh?
Texan, holster your guns.
Fine, it's just fine. You're mighty fine and brave, you Marshal Morgan lawman. Now, let's see. Hey, watch this, fellas. Watch this. Now, let's see you make me.
Oh, what do you say we don't have any trouble, huh?
Yeah, but I like trouble. I sure do. I like this kind of trouble.
Cowboy, why don't you hit the hay?
Mr. Marshal Lawman Morgan, you're just spinning the words that don't mean a thing. Did you know why? 'Cause you're scared. You are, and rightly so.
Of what?
Of a red-blooded Texan. Of me.
All right, Texan.
You hear that, fellas? The great tough Matt Morgan scared.
Oh, boy, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't what?
I wouldn't boast. Not with 2 guns in your hands. 2 guns I'm taking. Like this. Oh. All right. Show's over. Start playing again, fella. Yeah. Get O'Brien. You, Max Straper. Pick up the Texan, carry him to the calaboose.
I wouldn't do that if I were you, Marshal.
As you're not, I can't say. Easy with them, boys. Pick them up properly. Just keep on whatever you were doing, mister. Leave this be. Hey, Kenny Cross, hold those bat wings up for the
Why not
boys.
leave the Texan be, Marshal?
You got a home to go to?
Maybe.
You appear to be sober.
Appearance is often wrong. Like the law taking a Texan to the local calaboose.
So I'm wrong, am I?
So wrong, you're making the law look a fool.
Stranger to that?
Maybe.
I said strange.
I said maybe.
Look, I don't know you. I don't want to know you. Now, what say you be on your way, huh?
Oh, you make me tired.
Clem Mailing, Pete, pick up this critter, too, huh?
Okay, Marshal.
Follow Jed and Max to lockup. Yeah, it seems that before the night will be gone, I'll have quite a few in myself. All right, fella, you go in the next cell.
Have they gone, Marshal?
You mean the fellas who brought you both here to the jailhouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've gone.
The Texan, the cowboy?
See for yourself, still out to it. Well, why?
Gorson's my name, Ken Gorson.
So?
There's some place, your office maybe, where we can talk?
About what?
$20,000.
Start walking straight ahead. It brings us to my office.
You won't be overheard. And that's my story, Marshal. I stand to collect $20,000. See this thing through, and you won't be sorry.
And you can prove this story, Gussie?
I can. Same as you could by riding out Salt Fork Mine. It's just on 160 miles, right slap in the middle of Comanche country.
Yeah, I knew there were prospects of gold out that way, but I never realized that... Look, Gus, and tell it to me again, only slowly this time, huh?
Well, as I explained, I'm what's called a commission agent.
Yeah.
I buy, sell anything for a commission. Beef, wheat, hides, fodder, real estate leases, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and once in a while, along comes a deal involving a mighty big commission, big enough to kill for. Like this one. You agree?
Well, I've known men to kill for less than $20,000.
Oh, I can't say I blame this Gallico for trying, but I wish he hadn't picked on trying it with me.
Yeah, Gallico, huh? You've never met him?
I never met him, never seen him, never met anyone who done either. So I just can't get a description of him.
All you know is that he's threatened to kill you.
Plumb dead.
But so far, he's made only one attempt.
Well, which was close enough. Bullet fanned the back of my neck.
Now, why didn't you come to me in the first place instead of pulling that stunt in the plaza?
Well, I figured it'd look more natural, that's all. And, well, I sort of figured this, too. If Gallico was watching me all the time, as I've been told he is, and he saw me approach the law, he'd know he'd started to get me word yeller. But this way, picking a fight with the law, getting myself buffaloed cold, lugged to the local calaboose, well, if that ain't natural, then I don't know what is.
Well, look, I could have given you protection in another way.
Marshal, I've been told that no one breaks out of your Dodge City jail. To me, if no one can break out, it follows no one can break in. So here I am, begging you to keep me locked up for a week. All I ask is that you refuse me any visitors on account I don't know anybody in Dodge. Except, of course, Miss Bundy. Miss Bundy Brixton. You know Miss Bundy?
Well, I know most dancers here in Dodge. Part of my work, so... you want me to keep you locked up for 1 week till the buy arrives?
Yeah. Rick Joseph is by, and he'll be coming in by stage day week.
And you don't know him by sight either?
Oh, there's no need for that. You see this?
Yeah, $10 bill ripped in half.
Sure. Rick Joseph has the other. So all I've got to do is wait for someone to come up to me in a week's time, hand me half a $10 bill, which matches this half, and then hand over the papers and the lease and everything to him. He, in turn, well, he hands me the commission, $20,000.
Which I hope you'll pay into the bank pronto. Otherwise, it'll be a big temptation for this Al Gallico to still carry out his threat, huh?
Oh. Unless you kill him for me first.
Just like that.
Oh, no, not quite. There's a bonus to this, $1,000.
Oh, you're a strange man, Gus, and mighty strange.
How come?
You expect me to protect you from this unknown, unseen would-be killer?
Oh, correction, Marshal. Not a would-be killer. He's in earnest, no pretense. From what I can gather, he's killed before.
You expect him to kill you for $20,000, yet you expect me to kill him for $1,000, huh?
5 is the absolute top figure I'll go.
Gus, and I ought to bounce your head against that stone wall.
What?
Toss you in a cell, book you with everything, including attempted bribe.
Marshal, a bribe. Did I use that word, Marshal?
Bonus.
Oh, well, that's better. Yeah, bonus is a bonus. But not for you, Marshal. I'm sorry if I gave you the wrong impression.
Oh, what impression is the right one?
Well, I imagine that even in such a thriving city as Dodge, there's a deserving charity.
Yeah, there is.
Well, and kill Al Gallico, and then you name the charity, and I paid $1,000.
All this elaborate business. Why go to all the trouble, Carson? You look a reasonably intelligent man. You don't appear to be frightened.
Marshal, I am frightened. I've never been so all-fired scared in my whole life.
Over something that might not happen, someone who might not exist.
Marshal, I know. I feel it in my bones. Deepest hunch I've ever had. I just know that Al Gallico is out to kill me. Not just because I'm me, but to get that piece of the $10 bill I've got.
Mm-hmm. Your proposition is I keep you alive, you pay $5,000 into a charity I name.
Well, that's right. Except for a slight error. $1,000.
Plus your keep.
Oh, sure. I couldn't expect the Dodge City taxpayers to keep me now, could I?
Yeah. Well, you can bunk in the cell next to the Texan.
Oh. Well, thanks, Marshal. Of course, you won't mind visits by Miss Bundy.
Look, this place is the local calaboose, not a boarding house.
But Miss Bundy, she's a close friend of mine. The fact is, I'm thinking, well, when this is all over, I'm thinking of making her my secretary.
And take her back east, I hope?
Oh, why, sure. I think... Marshal, blow out them lamps. Hurry, blow them out. There's someone at the window with a gun. Marshal, I said kill them lamps.
Relax, will you?
Relax? You tell me to relax when I saw a face looking in here?
Sure.
You promised me protection.
From all but Miss Bundy Brixton, didn't you?
Yeah,
say?
from all but... Say, was that who...
She'd be pleased to know her face had...
Marshal, Come on in.
Hi, Marshal.
Hello, Bundy.
They told me you was here, honey darling.
You know the Marshal, don't you?
Well, who don't in this crummy... in this town?
I take it you don't like Dodge.
You take it right, Marshal man. And as soon as my honey doll here makes a lot of sugar...
It's back east for us, isn't it, honey?
Sure. But say, what's going on here? Why, you in the hoosgow, for Pete's sake. I did hear you took a swipe at the law. Marshal, will you release my honey doll on bail, maybe?
If you mean Gosson, sure, I'll release him.
Look, don't let's be too hasty about this, huh?
Oh, I get it. You and that Gallico hombre...
Sure. And do you mind treating it serious? If Gallico gets me, then he gets $20,000. And you get yourself stuck here in Dodge without me, huh?
Marshal, do you savvy this business? Me, I don't. Garson claims he don't know what this Gallico looks like, and the only way he can identify the other critter, the one paying over the money, Rick Joseph, only way he can be identified is by matching a torn currency bill. It just flamboozles me.
Well, ma'am, I've known of other business deals to be handled in similar ways.
Loco, that's what it is.
Well, listen, honey, why worry your pretty head about it, huh? It just helped me keep alive until the deal's over, that's all.
How?
By not letting on I'm staying in the hoosgow of my own free will. Let everyone, all the folk, believe I'm being held on the charge of, disturbing the peace. That all right by you, Marshal?
Sure thing. Disturbing the peace it is. Now, I figure it's time we locked up for the night, huh?
You're not going to leave my honey jar unguarded all night, are you?
Oh, no, I'll bunk here, too.
Sure. Over there, I suppose.
What's wrong with that? It's a comfortable billet.
No doubt, but ain't it a long way from the cells? Or are you letting Garson bunk here, too?
Oh, no. Me for the cell, sweetie. Ain't no one broke out of them, which means no one can break into them. Get at me, savvy?
All right. You know what you're doing. I'll see you tomorrow.
In the afternoon, say around 2.
Oh,
Garson, I'm doing you a favor, can't you understand?
I'll be around at 2, so don't get in an uproar, honey. You just go right up to your little cell and get yourself a lot of sleep. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night, sweetie. Night, Marshal.
You can get back to your rooming house?
But of course, unless you like to escort me.
Good night.
Night. Pleasant dreams.
It's time to be locked up, Garson.
What? Oh, yeah, locked up, sure.
Right this way. I'll carry the lamp.
That's right, pretty tune, Marshal.
Yeah. Here we are. If you figure you need extra blankets, just reach out and help yourself.
Well, thanks, Marshal. I reckon you made me right comfortable. I guess I've stayed in worse hotels in my time.
Inside.
Sure. I suppose you have to lock me in, huh?
Well, if you want to be right out of harm's way, sure do. Well, good night. The rest of the night passes uneventful. Comes morning, I release the now sore-headed sullen Texan to tell him to fork leather out of Dodge, stay out. He looks hard at me, thinks twice. The mooses without further trouble. I tend to 1 or 2 things, fixing for meals to be brought into my starboard order.
Wow, it's not too bad, Marshal. Not too bad at all. In fact, better food than I've had in this city so far.
There's a slice of pie under the cover, some told.
Oh, my appetite is...
What's the staring for? I'll take it. Here, read it yourself.
What? Being in jail don't save you none. AG. Say, where'd you get this food? Who put that note in the pie? AG, that's Al Gallico. Oh, don't stand there shining your star, Marshal. Go out and use it. Find that hombre. Find him before he kills me. Go on. Go on.
Check back on where I get the food. It's the same place I always get it. They assure me they're just as much bamboozled, hog-tied, and thrown as I am. Well, find nothing, learn nothing, so the day lingers, dies. Night passes uneventful. Next day is kind of cold, windy, sun breaking through for only 10 minutes at a time. Garson asks if he can use the exercise yard to get warm. I tell him, sure thing. Both go out to catch some of the sun.
Wow, sure nice to feel down your back, huh?
Yeah, in winter, sure.
Yeah, the sun's kind of friendly in winter. Opposite in summer.
Yeah, it can be a killer out in the Badlands and the Mesa.
Yeah.
Hey, my ground! Hit against the wall! Nearly got me! Nearly got
See where it
me!
came from?
Get me inside! Get me away from here!
Easy now. Move along the wall. Keep down low. Go on. It won't be hurt if you keep down low enough.
It's that Gallico, I tell you. It's him riling up.
Okay, inside, quick.
Hey, you bar and lock that door after us.
Sure thing, sure.
I wish I had never put a stake in this deal now. You've got to do something about this, Marshal. I want action. I want this crazy looking caught and hanged.
For what?
For attempted murder. Hey, ain't that enough to hang a man in these parts?
I tell him it could be. Could be. Lock him in a cell, leave him with a gun, then take a walk around the Plaza Saloon. Yes, it's by now late afternoon. I found Miss Bundy Brixton in her dressing room getting ready for work.
I'm due out there in about 15, 20 minutes. Sit down.
Thank you.
Say, first time I entertained the law, so how'd I go about it,
By answering questions.
By answering what kind of questions?
The kind about Ken Garson.
Such yes.
Such as how much you know about this business.
You mean this salt pork mine deal?
And the person calling himself Al Gallico, also the hombre known as Rick Joseph.
Ain't Garson told you?
Oh, he's told me. So now you tell me what you know, huh?
Me? I don't know nothing from nothing, Marshal. Garson has tied him out sometimes.
How long have you known him?
Why?
Oh, it's no particular reason. He hasn't been in Dodge long.
That's how long I've known him.
Yet you're going back east with him after this deal.
Marshal, what gal wouldn't jump at the chance,
To go back east or to get her hands on $20,000?
Marshal, how long can you lock a gal up in the calaboose for slapping the law?
We've all got to eat, I guess.
Yeah, we all gotta eat. Now, if you don't mind...
Sure. Need I ask you to see me if you remember anything that'll give me a lead?
No need.
Thanks.
Don't mention it. Marshal?
Yeah?
No, I guess you wouldn't. Shut the door. So long.
Marshal, I've been figuring.
Now you recollect something solid, huh?
I recollect this. If Galico kills me at a distance like he's been trying, how's he figure he can handle the deal with Rick Joseph? I got one half of the $10 bill. Rick Joseph got the other, so all right. So this Galico kills me in jail, say.
Yeah?
Well, he's got to reach my body to get to the bill. You get my drift?
Oh, yeah. It's what I call the softening process.
The softening process? You mean soften me up for something?
Yeah, soften you up, scare you into being only too glad to hand over the torn half the dollar bill before this Rick Joseph is due in.
Yeah, I guess that's the trail he's taking, Marshal. Guess it is right enough. You see, this Rick Joseph, the organizations he represents, well, they don't care who got the other half of the dollar bill. They don't care at all, so long as it's handed over with the Salt Fork papers. And in return, this Joseph just hands over the $20,000.
Why go to all that trouble about the $10 bill? Well, why wouldn't the handling over of the papers be enough in which to pay the commission?
On account of the papers in a deal like this are easily forged.
Oh, I see.
The only way Joseph's got to tell he's getting the real genuine stuff is by this torn bill, you follow?
Yeah. And the actual papers are still on you?
Yeah. And they stay there until Joseph shows up on the stage.
Well, then I figure...
You figure what, Marshal?
Don't talk and say anything to someone trying to reach the window.
What? Well, now,
Look out!
Did you get it?
I'm going for... Now, listen. Yeah, tell Garson I guess that Brunk's carrying the gunny. Even in his state, Garson realizes that by the time I could get outside, the ride would be well out of sight. Yeah, this whole business is getting me now like heel flies, making me feel there's something all fired loco about it. Well, loco or not, I got to play it out till it's over. And over it finally is with the arrival of the stage late after sunset. As the passengers climb down, I ask, which is an hombre named Joseph, Rick Joseph? A dark, well-dressed fellow says he's Joseph, and who wants to know? Well, I tell him. Fellows meet at the jailhouse, the other half of the $10 bill is produced, papers change hands, and so there's a leather pouch bulging with money. Well, Garson doesn't trouble to count the $20,000. Not all of it. Only 1,000 of it. While he's counting this donation to charity, the stage leaves again, taking Rick Joseph. Finally, the excitement dies. And as Garson finishes strapping the pouch, he says,
Well, there's 1,000, Marshal. And with it goes my thanks for what you've done.
Well, I'd rather you handle the money over yourself, cousin.
I'll do it.
What? Bundy, what are you... Hey, you're toting guns.
I know how to use them. So reach, Buster, and you, Marshal.
Huh? You
Howdy, Al Galico.
Shove over the pouch, Garson. Come on, shove it my way.
But I don't get it, Bunny. What
Shove it over, Buster. Then turn around, both of you. Turn around, face the wall, and keep reaching.
But,
Shut your
Bundy,
spluttering and do as I say. You too, lawman.
Well, sure thing, lady. You mean you want me to turn around like...
Well, I guess there's nothing left for me to say, Marshal. I won't stick around for Miss Bundy's trial, if you don't mind.
Oh, sure thing. I know how you feel.
Yeah, she sure had me fooled, huh? Well, I wish I knew how to thank you, Marshal.
Well, $1,000 will put a new roof on this jailhouse, but $5,000 to build a new wing for women prisoners.
That well?
Uh-huh.
Well, I'll go get that money pouch right now, so stick around for a moment. Stick around. Join us again next week as Matt Morgan fights to bring law and order out of the wild violence of the West in Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke is written by Ronald Ingleby and produced by Jim Bradley for our Transit.
Guns blaze in the action-packed drama of Gunsmoke.
Around Dodge City and in the territory out west, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a state marshal and the smell of gun smoke.
It's a story of the violence that moved west with young America. It's also my story. Me, Matt Morgan, U.S. Marshal. I'm the first man they look for, the last they want to meet. And you get it where a man isn't looking. Stumbles on another he don't want to look at. So fans the breeze straight for me. Double talk? Well, that's what happens to a sodbuster by the name of Beckhouse. This Beckhouse is riding into Dodge from along the 3 Mile. Though it's early morning, the sun's warm on his back. Warm and soothing, he says later. That's why he's not paying any attention to where his bronc's looking. The bronc looks, props, and Beckhouse takes a tumble.
You pesky, flea-bitten critter. What for you want to go toss a man like that? I ain't gonna let you go till you stop playing and acting up like you got old-fired local. You want me to kick some horse sense into you? Or don't you class yourself no horse? What in the all-fired tarnation's wrong with... Say...
For the first time, this Beckhouse looks towards the side of the trail, looks at a small depression. What he sees isn't pretty. When hombres, law-abiding hombres like Beckhouse see this kind of thing that isn't pretty, they all head for the same place.
Hey, Marshal Morgan. I didn't do it, but I sure found him. Yes, sir. Back along the 3 Mile, lying in a kind of shallow he is. A plumb nice hunk of buzzard bait. I'm riding along. I'm minding my own nose with the sun warming my back, and all of a sudden this bronco...
Yeah, this man starts spilling words all over the floor. Too many for me to follow, so I let him spill till he runs dry, then I get him to start again. Ask him his name.
Beckhouse. Eddie Beckhouse. I got a 20-acre green farm out beyond the 3 Mile.
Tells me it's Eddie Beckhouse runs a green stuff farm out beyond the 3 Mile Fork. He's riding into Dodge when his horse prop's tossing him. Doesn't let go of the rein. That's why he rides fast to me when he sees this thing. I ask him a question.
Not that I stopped to look, Marshal, but it looked like he died from being stabbed all over.
Stabbed? Sure?
Sure. He got stabs all around his throat.
You any urgent business in Dodge?
Well, I guess it can kind of wait. See, no, me, I ain't got nothing that can't wait.
I want you to take me out to 3 Mile and borrow a buckboard to carry in the body.
Sure. I'll show you.
I borrow the local Sawbones buckboard. Tell him I'll return it with new business for him.
Fine. That'll be just fine, Marshal. Haven't had a post-mortem now for a couple of days. A man soon loses his touch.
I tell him that it should be interesting. As far as I know, the victim didn't die from...
Victim?
You say victim, Marshal?
Uh-huh.
Victim, huh? Then it's murder.
And he died?
Don't, Marshal. Don't tell me. Don't spoil my little pleasure of finding out myself.
Back house leads me out of Dodge, back along the 3 Mile. Trail which isn't used very much. Leads me to this shallow depression.
There he is, Marshal, just like I told you. See them wounds?
Give me a hand, lift him on the buckboard.
Sure. Light, ain't he? Don't weigh much.
You finished yet, Doc?
Marshal Morgan. Yes, I finished. Not as interesting as I'd hoped, but interesting enough. A man died from the effects of stabbing. 7 times the knife went in. Second one, there, being the fatal wound. Cut artery.
Meaning he must have bled a lot.
A little, if my examination is conclusive. By that, I mean, if he died from the second stab wound, then it was fairly fast. Therefore, not very much blood.
But enough to show up.
You mean in the ground, the dust? Is that what you mean?
Uh-huh.
Enough.
Well, that means he wasn't killed where we found him. He was killed someplace else, taken out the 3 Mile and dumped.
Could be. Could very well be. And judging from the lack of fluids collected, died from the stab severing the artery. Therefore, more than enough.
Well, there's not much of a chance of picking up any tracks out there. I had a good look around. Nothing to go on.
You note this man's hands, Marshal, their condition. White and soft, no calluses. Therefore, I would say this man had been a gambler. You found nothing by which to make identification?
No, nothing.
Nor did I. Interesting. Well, you can do but one thing. Invite the populace to view the remains. Perhaps someone, a man...
I do that. I spread the word around Dodge that the doc has a body the law wants identified. To Dodge City folk, the fact that an identification is wanted means mystery. Mystery killing to them is a free show, a kind of one-man circus. So every man, woman, and kid turns up to file past the victim. Nobody identifies the remains. Comes next day, and I have a visitor.
The name is Jessup. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah?
That body over at the docks.
So?
When it was living, it had a name.
And you know it?
I do.
Let's have it.
A strange one. That's why I remember. Arcade Grant.
You haven't got it round the wrong way.
Asked him the same myself when I first heard it. No, that's the right way. Arcade Grant.
Jessup, what do you do?
Well, you've been looking at my hands, Marshal.
Professional with cards or dice?
Well, I prefer cards, but I have nothing against the dice, provided it isn't loaded.
When you played with Arcade Grant, which did you use?
Did I say I'd play?
Cards or the dice?
Neither. I didn't like the way Grant was acting up, flashing a big roll of notes about it. It was not only unethical, but boastful, foolish, and dangerous, as it obviously turned out.
How many people do you figure knew he was carrying so much?
Do you know Ma Hyacinth's boarding house?
One of the places I'd like to close up.
Well, no man would be stupid enough to cheat at cards or dice, not with Ma Hyacinth around.
You staying there?
I was. Figure I'll move on over to Wichita.
When I say so, Jessup.
Marshal, does that mean I'm under suspicion?
Just means I'd like to have you around for a while, that's all. You can leave Dodge some other time.
Mm-hmm. And if I claim my rights as a free citizen?
I'll toss you in the Hooskow on the charge of attempting to obstruct the law.
Well, in that case, I'll see if Ma Hyacinth can let me have my room back. If I'm wanted, you'll...
I walk around to Ma Hyacinth's boarding house with Jessup. It's a one-story clapboard building in the toughest section of Dodge. A rooming house which provides not only board and eats, but also liquor and gambling facilities. Jessup gets his room, then I get Ma Hyacinth's full attention.
Sure you got nothing on me, Morgan, so beat it. And take your bed someplace else where we won't set customers.
Sit down, Ma.
In my own place? You're telling me to sit down or in my own place?
Yes.
No. My, ain't the Lord busy these days, walking around telling gentle ladies what to do.
Ma, yesterday, why didn't you take a walk?
Like where to, youngster?
Like around a Doc's place?
Ain't got no time for docs. When I'm sick, I use the same liniments as my poor mother used on my poor pappy.
Like around the Doc's place to identify one of your customers?
Master Morgan, what are you aiming at, huh?
But I'm always aiming at when there's a killing.
Say, yeah, I've been a killing.
Maybe you don't know anything that goes on within 50 miles of Dodge.
Oh, flattery ain't to get you nowhere, met me boy.
Where'd you get the roll from, Ma?
You talking to me?
About one of your customers, one of your late customers? The hombre with the big roll and the strange name, Arcade Grant.
Late did you claim this morning, sir?
His last 2 days. How come you didn't join the queue yesterday?
Oh, my rheumatic, sir. Laughing up something. Yeah. Did you say, Arcade Grant?
Who killed him, Ma?
So, better that, huh?
More? Killer took his time in dumping the body. Carried it out the far end of the 3 Mile.
Any notion why?
He carried it out there?
Uh-huh.
Figured it was because he didn't want the body found too soon.
Mm-hmm. And, where do you figure this, killing took place? Original.
Any rumor been scrubbing the floor these last few days?
My floors are always clean.
Of blood?
Or anything you care to name.
Ma, tell me. This Arcade Grant got himself stabbed to death.
Yeah, hold it, Morgan, hold it. You say stab?
Is with a knife.
Uh-huh.
On the throat 7 times.
7?
Does it mean anything?
Sure.
What?
A lot of stabs.
This Arcade Grant got himself stabbed to death in this building. You'd know it, huh?
Well, if I'm around, sure. If I ain't around, no.
If this Arcade Grant won a roll too big to jump over, you'd know it?
You didn't win no roll in this place.
How can you be sure?
On account of, I get 10% kick-in on all.
All right, Ma. You know everything. Suppose you tell me about that shooting. There's nothing that goes on here in my Hyacinth's board and gambling house that she doesn't know. That's why when the 3 shots blast the air, I ask what I do before jumping for the door.
Yeah, I know nothing about him.
It takes me but a split second to reach the door. The corridor runs both ways. The corridor lined with closed doors, and the only things moving are the curtains down the end of the passage.
Marshal, I figured that the shooting come from down that end.
One of these rooms?
Yeah, well, maybe. Let's try him.
Any luck?
Well, I'll get a pass key. As usual. This time of day, there ain't nobody using their rooms. They're either in the big card room or in the bar or out someplace.
Locked, huh?
Yeah, it's puzzling.
Make with the pass key, Ma.
Pass key? Oh, yeah, sure. Got it in a string around my neck. Now, you look the other way while I pull it out. All right, you can turn back.
Come on.
Well, I'm doing the best I can.
So,
Well, there's one thing I'll say for him. He paid his rent in advance.
whoever got him fired from outside.
Yeah, that's what an hombre gets for keeping the window open.
Jessup had this room before, didn't he?
You was here when I gives you back to him today.
Did he tell people he'd intended leaving Dodge?
Marshal Morgan. There's some things I know, and there's some things I don't.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Rocky.
Hi.
Stick around, Rocky.
Huh? Who's your new boyfriend, Ma?
He ain't got no boyfriend.
Then who's your pard? I don't like
Where
it.
have you come from?
Who wants to know?
Marshal Morgan.
You Marshal Morgan?
Asking you where you've come from.
You mean where do I come from, meaning where I was born?
The last 3 minutes will do, Rocky.
From down the road. Anything against that?
Hand me your guns.
Say, what gives on around here, Ma? Why is the law bossing the place?
Yeah, better do what he wants, Rocky. There's a mean gleam in his eye.
All right.
Thanks. Okay, you can holster 'em.
Thanks, I'm sure.
Whereabouts down the road?
Well, I figure that's my private business, lawman.
Not anymore.
Then, I'd rather not say.
Yeah, Rocky, Jessup's just got himself shot.
Jessup?
Yeah.
Too bad.
How far down the road?
Now, look, Ma, I swear it's the first time I played down there, preferring, as you know, this place, but, well, I was at the roulette. Kaufman's roulette.
We'll go into that later.
Well, I didn't win nothing, so there ain't no 10% for you.
You come straight from Kaufman's to here?
Well, go check on it, lawman. I'm in the clear, so just go check on it. I ain't the only hombre around this place, lawman.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that, Rocky. One of them hotheads, you know, gets himself into more than a couple of fights.
Known to use a knife?
Mr. Matt, Marshal Morgan. I guess I've done enough talk today with you. So long. Get your own way out.
Well, as sometimes happens with these kind of killings, nobody knows nothing. Everybody knows everything. Which is why I find myself getting the local printer to run off a pile of wanted dodgers for me, offering $100 reward for information on either the Grant or Jessup killing, or both. I have them plastered up all over the city. Make investigations, get no place. Then I have a visitor, one Rocky.
And, so I figured, Marshal, that you should know about him. About this hombre Lennox and the critter Smythe.
Both flashing a lot of money around, huh?
Well, I've seen him for a long time, but never they got so much on him at the one time.
I see. Did they know either of the dead men?
Why don't you ask him? Ain't I done enough coming to the law already?
Oh, sure, thanks.
Well, I guess that's all, Marshal.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Don't let Ma know I've been here, will you, huh?
No, I won't.
Of course, if you do, or she finds out, she'll want 10% of the $100 reward.
Well, let's worry about that if and when you collect it.
Huh? Oh, well, you're sure. That's all right. Well, so long, Marshal.
I let the cowpuncher go. I drift myself, not for a drink, but towards Ma Hazen's place. I find her in. Ask where I'm likely to come up against Lennox and Smythe. And she's in one of her moods.
Yeah. Finding and locating folk. Ain't that part of your duty as a lawman, Mr. Marshal Morgan, boy?
Watch yourself tonight, Ma. I'm in the same mood as yourself. Nothing is funny. I need cheering up. One of the things that would do that is to close this place. Now, you get it?
Yeah. Well, Lennox, he's still out. But Smythe ain't. Room number 11, along there. Don't go tell him I said so.
I walk quietly along the dim corridor. Tread the floor close to the wall to stop any boards from creaking. Number 11 is near where the corridor makes a turn. The door isn't locked.
Say,
now reach for your gun, Smythe.
What's that?
The law. Sit down.
The law, huh? Oh, yeah, I recognize you now, the lamp shining on your face. All right. The law says sit down, I sit down. So now what's the law say, Marshal?
Where'd you get the roll you've been flashing around?
My, ain't the law nosy.
Ma won't like it if you bust one of her chairs. Now pick it up and sit up, huh?
Sure. Like I was some... All right. I forget it, Marshal.
You've forgotten what I asked?
I got the money from Lennox. You know Lennox? A cowpuncher like me. For the past 12 months or so, I've been loaning him money. And, well, he paid it back. That's all.
All at once?
Yeah, all at once.
Someone die and leave him a small fortune.
Huh. What I know?
Where'd he get it from?
Look at you. Hey, let's Hear that, Marshal? Lennox. A lazy critter. Never bothers to walk around the place and in along the corridor. Gets in through his windows instead.
What number?
2 doors down. This side.
Again, I soft-footed along the corridor, reach the door, test the handle, find it turns easy. And I give it a little shove. Opens quietly. The man inside the room has his back to me. He senses he's no longer alone. Spins around, a hand grabbing for his gun.
Leave it! What the police?
Take it easy.
Marshal Morgan, ain't
Sit
it?
down, Lennox.
I don't know nothing about nothing.
Not even where you got all your money from? Even the money you paid Smythe?
Ever heard of a game of cards, tall poker?
Sure.
You're riding the wrong trail, Marshal. I know what's on your mind. I read them dodges of yours plastered up. But like I say, I don't know nothing about nothing.
But you're telling me who you played poker with, aren't you, Lennox? Who lost so much money to you?
Ain't nothing in the law books to say I got to.
You want to tell me the hard way, maybe?
All right. All right, Marshal. I'll tell you. Only don't figure it's going to mean...
A man calling himself Lennox tells me he got involved in a poker game with a beef buyer on his way through Dodge to the cattle sales of Colorado. Says he had a big run of luck. Skins his beef buyer of every cent he's got and can raise on credit. The name of the buyer? Lennox can't remember. But he's written it down someplace. What's happened to the slip of paper? Well, that's impossible to say. Well, now, leave him looking. Tell him the moment he locates it, he's to bring it round the law office.
Sure, Marshal. Sure, I'll do that. Only wish I could recollect the name.
Who else met him?
No one that I knows of.
Did he check in here?
Yeah, I guess he did. Yeah, I guess he did check in.
I walked from Lennox's room, walked down the corridor, almost to where it leads out in the fresh air, but as I'm passing Ma Hyacinth's room...
Hey, Marshal.
Yeah?
Inside. Yeah, I want to pay out them $100 reward.
Provided I'm given information leading to the arrest of whoever killed Grant Jessup.
Yeah. Well, listen. You figure it the same as I do, that Grant was killed for his money, and Jessup on account of his talk with the law.
Plenty have talked with me about the Grant business is still on top of the ground.
Yeah, but only one identified branch. So, as that's something the killer didn't want so early, he pops them 3 slugs into Jessup.
Oh, maybe.
Where do I get the $100?
When I make the arrest.
Oh, well, I guess I can trust you, Matt Morgan. Now, look, when you was talking with Lennox, you know what I was doing?
Listening.
And a good job I was on account of that Lennox filled you right up here with a pack of lies.
About the cattle buyer?
Listen, this critter Lennox, he tells you he reads them wanted dodgers, right?
Sure.
Yeah. And then he tells you next that he wrote down the name of the cattle buyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I say. Lennox is an all-fired plum liar.
How?
How? On account that coyote can't write and he can't read.
But these do it for me.
Nicest bit of gunplay I've seen in years, Marshal.
Thanks, Ma.
Yes, sir. So nice, I figure it's worth paying for. How would you like 10% of my reward, huh?
Join us again next week as Matt Morgan fights to bring law and order out of the wild violence of the West in Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke is written by Ronald Ingleby and produced by Jim Bradley for Art Turner. Guns blaze in the action-packed drama of Gunsmoke.
night, City, and in the territory out west, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers. And that's with a state marshal and the smell of gun smoke. Gunsmoke is the story of the violence that moved west with young America. Told to my story. Me, Matt Morgan, U.S. Marshal. I'm the first man they look for, the last they want to meet. And you get it where a man isn't looking. Stumbles on another he don't want to look at. It fans the breeze straight for me. Double talk? Well, it's what happens to a sodbuster by the name of Beckhouse. This Beckhouse is riding into Dodge from along the 3 Mile. Oh, it's early morning. The sun's warm on his back. Warm and soothing, he says later. That's why he's not paying any attention to where his bronk's looking. The bronc looks, drops, and Beckhouse takes a tumble.
You pesky, flea-bitten critter. What for you want to go toss a man like that? I ain't gonna let you go till you stop playing and acting up like you're an old-fired local. You want me to kick some hot sense into you? Or don't you class yourself no hot? What in the all-fired tarnation's wrong with...
Say. For the first time, this Beckhouse looks towards the side of the trail, looks at a small depression. What he sees isn't pretty. When hombres, law-abiding hombres like Beckhouse see this kind of thing that isn't pretty, they all head for the same place.
Hey, Marshal Morgan. I didn't do it, but I sure found him. Yes, sir. Back along the 3 Mile. Lying in the kind of shallow he is. A plumb nice hunk of buzzard bait. I'm riding along. I'm minding my own nose with the sun warming my back, and all of a sudden this drunk.
Yes, man starts spilling words all over the floor. Too many for me to follow, so I let him spill till he runs dry, then I get him to start again. Ask him his name.
Beckhouse. Eddie Beckhouse. I got a 20-acre green farm out beyond the 3 Mile.
Tells me it's Eddie Beckhouse runs a green stuff farm out beyond the 3 Mile Fork. He's riding into Dodge when his horse props tossing him. Doesn't let go of the rein. That's why he rides fast to me when he sees this thing. And I asked him a question.
Not that I stopped to look, Marshal, but it looked like he died from being stabbed all over.
Stabbed? Sure?
Sure. He got stabs all around his throat.
You any urgent business in Dodge?
Well, I guess it can kind of wait. No, me, I ain't got nothing that can't wait.
I want you to take me out to 3 Mile and borrow a buckboard carrying the body.
Sure. I'll show you.
I borrow the local sawbones buckboard, tell him I'll return it with new business for him.
Fine. That'll be just fine, Marshal. Haven't had a post-mortem now for a couple of days. The man soon loses his touch.
I tell him that it should be interesting. As far as I know, the victim didn't die from...
Victim? You say victim, Marshal?
Uh-huh.
Victim, huh? But it's murder.
And he died?
Don't, Marshal. Don't tell me. Don't spoil my little pleasure of finding out myself.
Beckhouse leads me out of Dodge, back along the 3 Mile. Trail which isn't used very much. Leads me to this shallow depression.
There he is, Marshal, just like I told you. See them moons?
Give me a hand. Lift him on the buckboard.
Sure. Light, ain't he? Don't weigh much.
You finished yet, Doc?
Marshal Morgan. Yes, I finished. Not as interesting as I'd hoped, but interesting enough. The man died from the effects of stabbing. 7 times the knife went in. Second one, there, being the fatal wound. Cut artery.
Meaning he must have bled a lot.
A little, if my examination is conclusive.
By that, I mean, if he died from the second stab wound, then it was fairly fast. Therefore, not very much blood.
But enough to show up.
You mean in the ground, the dust? Is that what you mean?
Uh-huh.
Enough.
Well, that means he wasn't killed where we found him. He was killed someplace else, taken out the 3 Mile and dumped.
Yeah, could be. Could very well be. And judging from the lack of fluids collected, died from the stab severing the artery. Therefore, more than enough.
Well, there's not much of a chance of picking up any tracks out there. I had a good look around. There's nothing to go on.
You note this man's hands, Marshal, their condition. They're white and soft, no calluses. Therefore, I would say this man had been a gambler. You found nothing by which to make identification?
No, nothing.
Nor did I. Interesting. Well, you can do but one thing. Invite the populace to view the remains. Perhaps someone, a man, a woman.
I do that. I spread the word around Dodge that the doc has the body the law wants identified. Dodge City folk fact that an identification is one that means mystery. Mystery killing to them is a free show, a kind of one-man circus. So every man, woman, and kid turns up to file past the victim. Nobody identifies the remains. Comes the next day, and I have a visitor.
His name is Jessup. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah?
That body over at the dock.
So?
While it was living, it had a name.
And you know it?
I do.
Let's have it.
A strange one. That's why I remember. Arcade Grant.
You haven't got it round the wrong way.
Asked him the same myself when I first heard it. No, that's the right way. Arcade Grant.
Jessup, what do you do?
Oh, you've been looking at my hands, Marshal.
Professional with cards or dice?
Well, I prefer cards, but I have nothing against the dice, provided it isn't loaded.
When you played with Arcade Grant, which did you use?
Did I say I'd play?
Cards or the dice?
Neither. I didn't like the way Grant was acting up, flashing a big roll of notes about it. It was not only unethical, but boastful, foolish, and dangerous, as it obviously turned out.
How many people do you figure knew he was carrying so much?
You know Ma Hyacinth's boarding house?
One of the places I'd like to close up.
Well, no man would be stupid enough to cheat at cards or dice, not with Ma Hyacinth around.
You staying there?
Well, I was. Figure I'll move on over to Wichita.
When I say so, Jessup.
Marshal, does that mean I'm under suspicion?
Just means I'd like to have you around for a while, that's all. You can leave Dodge some other time.
Mm-hmm. And if I claim my rights as a free citizen?
I'll toss you into Huskar on the charge of attempting to obstruct the law.
Well, in that case, I'll see if Ma Hyacinth can let me have my room back. If I'm wanted, you'll...
I walk around to my Hyacinth boarding house with Jessup. It's a one-story clapboard building in the toughest section of Dodge. Room and house, which provides not only board and eats, but also liquor and gambling facilities. Jessup gets his room, then I get my Hyacinth's full attention.
So you got nothing on me, Morgan, so beat it and take your bed someplace else where we won't set customers.
Sit down, Ma.
In the old place? You're telling me to sit down in the old places?
Yes.
No. My, ain't the Lord busy these days, walking around telling gentle ladies what to do.
Ma, yesterday, why didn't you take a walk?
Like you're... Where to, youngster?
Like around at Doc's place?
Ain't got no time for dogs. When I'm sick, I use the same liniments as my poor mother used on my poor cat.
Like around the Doc's place to identify one of your customers?
That's Morgan. What are you aiming at, huh?
What I'm always aiming at when there's a killing.
Yeah, I've been a killing.
Maybe you don't know anything that goes on within 50 miles of Dodge.
All flattery ain't to get you nowhere, met me boy.
Where do you get the roll from, Ma?
You're talking to me.
How about one of your customers, one of your late customers? The hombre with the big roll and the strange name, Arcade Grant.
Late did you claim this morning, sir?
His last 2 days. How come you didn't join the queue yesterday?
Oh, my romantic, sure. That's not something. Yeah. Did you say, Arcade, Grant?
Who killed him, Ma?
So, better than, huh?
More. Killer took his down and dumped the body. Carried it out the far end of the 3 mile.
Any notion why?
Carried it out there?
Uh-huh.
Figured it was because he didn't want the body found too soon.
Mm-hmm. And, where do you figure this, killing took place? Original.
Any rumor been scrubbing the floor these last few days?
My floors were all clean.
Blood?
Or anything you care to name.
Ma, tell me. This Arcade Grant got himself stabbed to death.
Yeah, hold it, Morgan, hold it. You say stab?
With a knife?
Uh-huh.
In the throat 7 times?
7?
Does it mean anything?
Sure.
What?
A lot of stabs.
This Arcade Grant got himself stabbed to death in this building, you'd know it.
Well, if I'm around, sure. I ain't around. No.
If this Arcade Grant won a roll too big to jump over, you'd know it?
He didn't win no roll in this place.
How can you be sure?
On account of, I get 10% kick in on all.
All right, Ma. You know everything. Suppose you'd tell me about that shooting. Nothing that goes on here in my Hyacinth board and gambling house that she doesn't know. That's why when the 3 shots blast the air, I ask what I do before jumping for the door.
Yeah, I know nothing about him.
It takes me but a split second to reach the door. The corridor runs both ways. Corridor lined with closed doors, and the only things moving are the curtains down the end of the passage.
Marshal, I figured that the shooting come from down that end.
One of these rooms?
Yeah, well, maybe. Let's try 'em.
Any luck?
Well, I'll get a pass key. As usual. This time of day, there ain't nobody using their rooms. They're either in the big card room or in the bar or out someplace.
Locked, huh?
Yeah, it's puzzling.
Make for the pass key, Ma.
The pass key? Oh, yeah, sure. Put it in a string around my neck. Now, you look the other way while I'll pull it out. All right, you can turn back.
Come on.
Well, I'm doing the best I can.
So.
Well, there's one thing I'll say for him. He paid his rent in advance.
Whoever got him fired from outside.
Yeah, that's what an hombre gets for keeping the window open.
Jessup had this room before, didn't he?
You was here when I gives you back to him today.
Did he tell people he'd intended leaving Dodge?
Marshal Morgan. There's some things I know and some things I don't.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Rocky.
Hi. Stick around, Rocky. Huh? Who's your new boyfriend, Ma?
Ain't got no boyfriend.
Then who's your pard? I don't like Where have you come from? Who wants to know?
Marshal Morgan.
You Marshal Morgan? Asking you where you come from. You mean where do I come from, meaning where I was born? The last 3 minutes will do, Rocky. From down the road. Anything against that? Hand me your guns. Say, what gives on around here, Ma? Why's the law busting the place?
Yeah, then do what he wants, Rocky. There's mean gleam in his eye.
All right. Thanks. Okay, you can holster 'em. Thanks, I'm sure. Whereabouts down the road? Well, I figure that's my private business, lawman. Not anymore. Then, I'd rather not say.
Yeah, Rocky, just got yourself shot.
Jessup?
Yeah.
Too bad. How far down the road? Now, look, Ma, I swear it's the first time I played down there. Preferring, as you know, this place, but, well, I was at the roulette. Kaufman's roulette.
We'll go into that later.
Well, I didn't win nothing, so there ain't no 10% for you. You come straight from Kaufman's to here? Well, go check on it, lawman. I'm in the clear, so just go check on it. I ain't the only hombre around this place, lawman.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that critter, Rocky. One of them hotheads, you know, gets himself into more than a couple fights.
Known to use a knife?
Mr. Marshall Morgan. I guess I've done enough talk today with you. So long. Get your own way out.
Well, as it sometimes happens to these kind of killings, nobody knows nothing. Everybody knows everything. Which is why I find myself getting the local printer to run off a pile of wanted dodgers for me, offering $100 reward for information on either the Grant or Jessup killing, or both. I have them plastered up all over the city. Make investigations, get no place. Then I have a visitor, one Rocky.
And, so I figured, Marshal, that you should know about him. About this hombre Lennox and the critter Smythe.
Both flashing a lot of money around, eh?
Well, I've seen him for a long time, but never they got so much on him at the one time.
I see. Did they know either of the dead men?
Well, why don't you ask him? Ain't I done enough coming to the law already?
Oh, sure, thanks.
Yeah, well, I guess that's all, Marshal.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Don't let Ma know I've been here, will you, huh?
No, I won't.
Of course, if you do, or she finds out, she'll want 10% of the $100 reward.
Well, let's worry about that if and when you collect it.
Huh? Oh, sure. That's all right. Well, so long, Marshal.
I let the cow punch you go. I tripped myself, not for a drink, but towards Ma Hassan's place. I find her in. Ask where I'm likely to come up against Lennox and Smythe. Well, she's in one of her moods.
Yeah. Finding and locating folk. Ain't that part of your duty as a lawman, Mr. Marshal Borden, boy?
Watch yourself tonight, Ma. I'm in the same mood as yourself. Nothing is funny. I need cheering up. One of the things that would do that is to close this place. Now, you get it?
Yeah. Well, Lennox, he's still out. But Smythe ain't. Room number 11, along there. Don't go tell him I said so.
I walk quietly along the dim corridor. Tread the floor close to the wall to stop any board from creaking. Number 11 is near where the corridor makes a turn. The door isn't locked.
Say,
Now, reach for your gun, Smythe.
What's that?
The law. Sit down.
The law, huh? Oh, yeah, I recognize you now, the lamp shining on your face. All right. The law says sit down, I sit down. So now what's the law say, Marshal?
Where'd you get the roll you've been flashing around?
My, ain't the law nosy.
Ma won't like it if you bust one of the chairs. Now pick it up and sit up, huh?
Like I was some... All right. Forget it, Marshal.
You've forgotten what I asked?
I got the money from Lennox. You know Lennox? A cowpuncher like me. For the past 12 months or so, I've been loaning him money. And, well, he paid it back. That's all.
All at once?
Yeah, all at once.
Someone die and leave him a small fortune.
What I know?
Where'd he get it from?
Look at it. You that, Marshal? Lennox. Lazy critter. Never bothers to walk around the place and in along the corridor. Gets in through his windows instead.
What number?
2 doors down. This side.
Again, I soft-footed along the corridor, reach a door, test the handle, find it turns easy. And I give it a little shove. Opens quietly. Man inside the room is his back to me. He senses he's no longer alone. Spins around, a hand grabbing for his gun.
Leave it.
What the police? Take it easy.
Marshal Morgan, ain't
Sit down, Lennox.
I don't know nothing about nothing.
Not even where you got all your money from? Even the money you paid Smythe?
Ever heard of a game of cards called poker?
Sure.
You're riding the wrong trail, Marshal. I know what's on your mind. I read them dodges of yours plastered up. But like I say, I don't know nothing about nothing.
But you're telling me who you played poker with, aren't you, Lennox? Who lost so much money to you?
Ain't nothing in the law books to say I got this.
You want to tell me the hard way, maybe?
All right. All right, Marshal. I'll tell you. I don't figure it's gonna mean
The man calling himself Lennox tells me he got involved in a poker game with a beef buyer on his way through Dodge to the cattle sales of Colorado. Says he had a big run of luck. Skins his beef buyer with every cent he's got. Can raise and credit. The name of the buyer? Lennox can't remember. But he's written it down someplace. What's happened to the slip of paper? Well, that's impossible to say. Well, now, I'll leave him looking. Tell him the moment he locates it, he's to bring it round the law office.
Sure, Marshal. Sure, I'll do that. Only wish I could recollect the name.
Who else met him?
No one that I knows of.
Did he check in here?
Yeah, I guess he did. Yeah, I guess he did check in.
I walked from Lennox's room, walked down the corridor, almost to where it leads out in the fresh air, but as I'm passing Ma Hyacinth's room...
Hey, Marshal.
Yeah?
Inside. You want to pay out them $100 reward?
Provided I'm given information leading to the arrest of whoever killed Grant. Jessup.
Well, listen. You figure it the same as I do, that Grant was killed for his money, and Jessup on account of talk with the law.
Plenty of talk with me about the Grant business is still on top of the ground.
Yeah, but only one identified branch. So, if that's something the killer didn't want so early, he got them 300 to Jessup.
Oh, maybe.
When do I get $100?
When I make the arrest.
Oh, well, I guess I can trust you, Matt Morgan. Now, look, when you was talking with Lennox, you know what I was doing?
Listening.
And a good job I was on account of that Lennox filled you right up here with a pack of lies.
About the cattle buyer?
Listen, this critter Lennox, he tells you he reads them wanted dodgers, right?
Sure.
Yeah. And then he tells you next that he wrote down the name of the cattle buyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I say. Lennox is an all-fired plum liar.
How?
How? On account that coyote can't write and can't read.
But these two would follow me.
Nicest bit of gunplay I've seen in years, Marshal.
Thanks, Father.
Yes, sir. So nice, I figure it's worth paying for. How would you like 10% of my reward, huh?
Join us again next week as Matt Morgan fights to bring law and order out of the wild violence of the West End. Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke is written by Ronald Ingleby and produced by Jim Bradley for Art Furniture.